For almost 2 decades, Michael Jordan ruled basketball like a god among mortals. Every opponent who dared to challenge him usually ended up as another highlight reel victim, a helpless defender in slow motion as Jordan floated through the air, tongue out, ending the game with a dagger jumper and that signature glare. He wasn't just great, he was terrifyingly great. Players didn't just respect him, they feared him. His confidence was unshakable, his competitiveness unmatched. His presence alone could break an opponent's will before the first whistle. But what if I told you that somewhere deep inside that unshakable legend, there was one man who made even Michael Jordan feel something he rarely admitted: fear. It's hard to imagine, right? The man who dropped 63 points on the Boston Celtics in the playoffs, who once punched his own teammate for not giving enough effort, who built a dynasty out of sheer obsession, scared. The same Jordan who told opponents, "You don't belong on the same court as me." The same Jordan who used any hint of weakness as fuel to destroy you. Yet, according to those who played beside him and against him, there was one player who stood so tall, moved so gracefully, and dominated so completely that even Jordan himself had to admit, "Yeah, I'm scared of him." And this wasn't some trash-talking guard or a flashy scorer. It wasn't Magic, it wasn't Bird, it wasn't even Kobe. It was a man who ruled the paint like an emperor, whose footwork could make giants stumble and whose defense swallowed superstars whole. His name? Hakeem Olajuwon. In the golden age of basketball, when egos were massive and legends were being carved in real time, the thought of Jordan fearing anyone was unthinkable. But behind the scenes, in quiet conversations between teammates, a different story was whispered. One about the only player Jordan didn't want to face in the finals. And once you understand why, you'll see Michael Jordan not just as the GOAT, but as something even more fascinating: human. Section 1. The Legend's Shield. Before we talk about fear, we need to understand what made Michael Jordan seem fearless in the first place. Throughout the late 80s and 90s, Jordan didn't just dominate the NBA, he reshaped it. He wasn't built like the giants of his era, nor did he rely solely on size or brute strength. Jordan's weapon was psychological warfare disguised as basketball. From the moment he stepped onto the court, opponents could feel it. That aura, the stare, the walk, the silence before the storm. It wasn't arrogance, it was certainty. He didn't hope to win. He knew he would. Every time Jordan laced up his sneakers, he was chasing something bigger than victory: control. He wanted to own the game. Every possession, every matchup, every mind on the court. Teammates described his intensity as uncomfortable. Opponents said playing against him felt like being hunted. His presence alone could change a game before the ball even tipped. That was his shield, a mental armor forged from obsession, pain, and an almost unhealthy desire to never show weakness. He built his reputation on breaking others. Trash talk was one thing, but Jordan's actions were louder. If you scored on him once, he'd remember it for years. If you dared talk back, he'd make sure your career highlight reel stopped right there. His competitive rage was legendary, a storm so strong that even his own teammates weren't safe. Steve Kerr found out the hard way when Jordan punched him during practice just to set the tone. Phil Jackson said Jordan's drive was so intense that it scared people, but that's exactly how he wanted it. To the world, Jordan wasn't a man. He was an unbreakable myth. He didn't flinch, didn't doubt, didn't lose control. Fear? That emotion didn't exist in his vocabulary. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. Because hidden behind that iron shield was one rare moment of honesty, one quiet confession that shattered the illusion of invincibility. A moment when Jordan looked across the court, saw another man's dominance, and admitted, even if just for a second, "This guy scares me." And that man was already building his empire in Houston. Section 2. Enter the Challenger. While Jordan was rewriting history in Chicago, Down in Houston, another kind of greatness was unfolding. One that didn't rely on swagger or highlight reels, but on pure mastery. His name was Hakeem Olajuwon, and if Jordan was basketball's assassin in the sky, Olajuwon was the silent architect beneath the rim. Born in Lagos, Nigeria, Hakeem didn't even pick up a basketball until he was 15. But once he did, it was like watching a divine experiment. Agility, power, and grace fused into one 7-foot frame. By the time the 90s arrived, Olajuwon had turned the center position into an art form. His footwork was poetry, smooth, rhythmic, impossible to predict. They called it the dream shake, a move so deadly that defenders looked like they were dancing helplessly around him. In an era filled with giants like Shaq, Ewing, and Robinson, it was Hakeem who stood above them all, not by size, but by skill. When Michael Jordan retired for the first time in 1993, the NBA landscape shifted. The throne was vacant, and Hakeem seized it. In 1994 and 1995, he led the Houston Rockets to back-to-back championships, winning both finals MVPs while dismantling every challenge that came his way. He didn't just win, he embarrassed legends. He outplayed Patrick Ewing. He outsmarted David Robinson so badly in the '95 Western Conference Finals that fans still talk about it like a masterclass. And somewhere in Chicago, Jordan was watching. He wasn't just seeing another great player. He was seeing something rare. A man who had built his own empire without the theatrics, without the marketing machine, without the spotlight that surrounded Air Jordan. Hakeem wasn't trying to be the face of the league. He was too busy dominating it. The truth was simple. If Jordan hadn't retired in '93, those finals could have been Jordan versus Olajuwon. And according to those who were there, even the GOAT wasn't sure he'd win that battle, because Hakeem wasn't just another name. He was the one opponent who could meet Jordan's fire with calm, his intensity with poise, his air game with an empire built from the ground up. And when their paths finally crossed again, the respect and the fear was real. Section 3. The admission of fear. It started as a locker room story, one of those tales that floated around the league, whispered between players, then resurfaced years later when the cameras were gone. Former Rockets forward Robert Horry was the one who finally said it out loud. During an interview, Horry recalled a moment that stunned fans. Michael Jordan told us himself, the only player he was ever scared of was Hakeem Olajuwon. Let that sink in for a second. Michael Jordan, the same man who built his entire legacy on intimidation, admitting he was scared of someone. At first, people thought it had to be a joke. Jordan didn't do fear. This was the guy who once told a rookie, "You're wearing my shoes, but you'll never fill them." He didn't fear his opponents. He used them as fuel. But Horry's statement wasn't said with humor or exaggeration. It was quiet, matter of fact, and came from someone who had been on the other side of Hakeem's dominance. When Horry was asked why Jordan felt that way, his answer was simple: because Hakeem was unstoppable. And that word, unstoppable, might just explain everything. See, Jordan was used to breaking players mentally. He could read fear, exploit it, and turn it into his advantage. But with Olajuwon, there was nothing to break. Hakeem didn't trash talk, didn't boast, didn't bite when provoked. He just went to work, quiet, composed, efficient. The more you tried to rattle him, the calmer he became. It was like fighting water. No matter how hard you hit, it just flowed around you. And that calm scared Jordan, because it was unfamiliar. Here was a player who couldn't be drawn into Jordan's psychological games. Someone who matched his discipline with serenity and his aggression with precision. Maybe fear wasn't about physical danger. Maybe it was something deeper, a kind of professional dread. The realization that even at the top of the mountain, there was another peak rising in the distance. And that peak's name was Olajuwon. For once, the predator had found someone he couldn't quite hunt. Section 4. Tactical breakdown. To understand why Michael Jordan respected, and maybe even feared, Hakeem Olajuwon, you have to step into the mind of a competitor. Jordan wasn't intimidated by size or strength. He faced 7-footers his entire career and dismantled most of them with ease. What made Hakeem different wasn't how big he was, it was how he moved. Olajuwon was quite literally a big man who moved like a guard. He had lightning-quick footwork, a smooth handle, and balance that made him almost impossible to predict. His signature move, the dream shake, wasn't just a post maneuver, it was psychological warfare. A fake here, a pivot there, and suddenly defenders were spinning into the wrong direction, while Hakeem rose for an effortless fadeaway. Even Shaquille O'Neal, who outweighed him by 60 pounds, once admitted, "You couldn't guard Hakeem. You could only pray he missed." Now imagine being Jordan, the master of control, watching someone else completely own that role. Every time Olajuwon touched the ball, he dictated the rhythm of the game. He slowed it down when he wanted, exploded when he chose, and anchored both sides of the court like a one-man army. Defensively, he was a nightmare. He could switch onto guards, block shots without fouling, and anticipate plays like he was reading minds. Statistically, it's absurd. 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, over 3,800 blocks, more than any player in NBA history, nearly 14,000 rebounds. But numbers can't capture the feeling of playing against him. Opponents said it was like facing quicksand. Every move you made pulled you deeper into his control, and that's what Jordan recognized. For all his brilliance, Jordan relied on rhythm, the ability to speed up or slow down games at will. Against Hakeem, that illusion of control vanished. Even though they played different positions, Jordan knew, if they ever met in the finals, every possession would start and end with Hakeem dictating the outcome. He wasn't scared of losing a duel. He was scared of losing the one thing he valued most: dominance. And as the Rockets kept winning without him, that fear started to feel real. Section 5. The matchups and moments. In the world of what-ifs, few basketball debates burn hotter than this one. What if Michael Jordan never retired in 1993? Because if he hadn't, there's a good chance we would have witnessed one of the greatest finals matchups in NBA history. Bulls versus Rockets. Jordan versus Olajuwon. But instead, while Jordan was swinging bats in Birmingham, trying his hand at baseball, Hakeem Olajuwon was carving his name into history. In 1994, the Rockets steamrolled their way to a championship. Hakeem outplayed Patrick Ewing in the finals, putting up MVP-level numbers on both ends of the court. The very next year, he repeated the feat. This time, dismantling the newly crowned MVP, David Robinson, in what many call the most dominant playoff performance ever. Robinson had just been awarded his MVP trophy before Game 1, and Olajuwon took that personally. He embarrassed Robinson with footwork, so smooth it looked like a dance routine, averaging nearly 35 points a game in that series. Meanwhile, Jordan was watching from the sidelines, itching to return. He came back near the end of the 1994-95 season, just in time to face a new NBA, one where Olajuwon reigned supreme. When the Bulls met the Rockets that year, even with Jordan back in uniform, the results spoke volumes. Houston beat Chicago in both matchups. Hakeem dominated, averaging over 30 points, while Jordan, still shaking off the rust, looked human for one of the few times in his career. It was a glimpse of the parallel universe fans always imagined. Could the Bulls have stopped Hakeem's Rockets in the finals? Some analysts say yes, others say absolutely not. Even Jordan himself later hinted at uncertainty. He respected Hakeem's game too much to dismiss him. In the rarest sense, Jordan had found his equal, not in flash or popularity, but in discipline, balance, and quiet dominance. And though they never met on the biggest stage, every time Olajuwon raised that trophy, Jordan knew that could have been the one opponent who broke the streak. The GOAT wasn't scared of losing the game. He was scared that, just this once, someone else might have played it better. Section 6. Legacy, rumors, and what it really means. Years later, the whispers about Jordan's fear of Hakeem never truly faded. Some fans brushed it off as exaggeration. Others saw it as the rarest glimpse into the mind of an invincible competitor, proof that even the GOAT had limits he quietly respected. What's fascinating is that Jordan's fear didn't come from weakness, it came from recognition. He saw in Hakeem something few players ever possessed, a mastery so complete that it transcended hype. Olajuwon didn't need to talk. He didn't need the cameras. He simply performed. He was spiritual about basketball, literally praying before games, grounding himself in calm, while Jordan fueled himself with chaos and fire. Two opposites, yet equally unstoppable. There were rumors that Jordan avoided a return to the league in 1994, partly because Houston looked unbeatable. While that might be myth more than truth, it captures something deeper: respect that bordered on intimidation. Jordan didn't fear Hakeem the man. He feared what he represented. Someone he couldn't mentally break. Someone who'd already conquered the one thing Jordan guarded most: the aura of untouchable dominance. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It humanizes greatness, because even for Michael Jordan, the man who seemed superhuman, there was one player who reminded him that perfection isn't about never feeling fear. It's about what you do after you feel it. For Jordan, that fear became fuel. For Hakeem, it was validation. Two legends, one truth. Respect is the purest form of fear. Section 7. The untold twist. Here's the twist most people miss. That so-called fear wasn't weakness. It was fuel. When Jordan finally returned to the NBA in 1995, he came back different. The Rockets were on top. Hakeem was the reigning king, and the whispers about the one player Jordan feared were everywhere. And if there's one thing history has taught us, it's that Michael Jordan didn't take whispers lightly. He used them. That summer, Jordan locked himself in the gym with the same fire that built his first dynasty. His message was clear: if there's someone better, I'll find a way to surpass him. The result? The Bulls' 1995-96 season, the most dominant run in NBA history at that time. 72 wins, an MVP, another finals, another ring. Jordan's answer to fear wasn't denial, it was domination. And though he and Hakeem never clashed for the championship, their legacies intertwined forever. The rivalry that never happened became the stuff of legend, a ghost matchup that still haunts basketball fans and fuels endless what-if debates. Hakeem remained the calm storm, respected, revered, but never loud. Jordan returned as the sharpened blade, fueled by the one moment he ever felt human. In the end, that fleeting fear didn't diminish him. It elevated him, because only those who acknowledge fear ever truly conquer it. And for Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon wasn't just the one player he feared. He was the reminder that even gods need rivals to stay divine. Section 8. When legends respect legends. In later years, when reporters asked both men about each other, neither dodged the truth. Jordan called Hakeem the most complete center ever, a player who combined strength, finesse, and intelligence like no one else. Hakeem, in turn, said Jordan was the ultimate competitor, someone who pushed the standard of greatness to unreachable heights. There was no trash talk left, no rivalry to settle, just mutual respect between two masters who understood the price of greatness. They knew what it meant to live obsessed, to chase perfection every night, and to carry the weight of entire franchises on their shoulders. Behind the highlight reels and championship banners, that respect was the real story. Two men who reached the mountaintop, not through luck, but through relentless, lonely pursuit. And maybe that's why Jordan's admission matters so much. Because it wasn't fear of losing. It was the recognition of greatness, the kind of respect that only a true champion can give another. Even legends see themselves reflected in someone else once in a while. And for Michael Jordan, that reflection wasn't in a mirror. It was in Hakeem Olajuwon. So maybe the greatest revelation in this story isn't that Michael Jordan was scared, but that he could be. Because fear isn't the opposite of greatness. It's the fuel that creates it. Jordan's respect for Hakeem Olajuwon wasn't weakness. It was recognition. Recognition that even the best need someone to chase, someone who reminds them they're human. And that's why this moment lives forever, not as a stain on Jordan's legacy, but as proof of what made him unstoppable. Even the GOAT had fear once, and that fear made him greater.